Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Justin Lin of Rehab and Revive Physical Therapy here in Irvine and Tustin. Today, I want to talk about shoes. I've been getting some questions from patients regarding what kind of shoes to wear, how to find the right shoe, this or that, and when to get rid of shoes, because people put an arbitrary number like 500 miles or 1,000 miles, and then those shoes have to kick the can. So, well, today we're going to talk about these things and examine some of the shoes that I have, and you might find some interesting things that have happened in my life and injuries that have happened with my cleats and things like that. First off, for those of you who wear high heels, this doesn't count, so this segment really doesn't pertain to that, or the men that wear the lifted formal shoes, and those also don't count, because you're probably, even though some of you may be in them all day, that's for another segment, and you should probably get rid of those shoes anyways. So let's talk about what I'm wearing today. So I've got my Brooks. A little history about me. I ran track over at Boston University, and I put thousands and thousands of miles on my shoes, and I went over probably 100 different pairs because I got shin splints, I had a stress fracture, I had lower back pain, and that's when I started getting fascinated with shoes. I do have to credit, however, over at the Institute of Physical Art, Greg Johnson, for teaching me how to assess shoes better. So I think I can't take all the credit myself. So this is my Brooks running shoes. I swear by Brooks. I think their technology is best. They should pay me for referral fees. But what happens at times is the design of the shoe is really good, and they're looking better and better. The first generation Brooks Beast was the ugliest thing ever, but now we're on the 12th or 13th generation. So what I do want to say is manufacturing over in the wherever they do it, Indonesia, Vietnam, or China, sometimes there's a manufacturing defect, and that's where you have to get savvy when you're buying your shoes at the shoe store or at the sporting goods store. You want to ask for all the boxes of the same size of these shoes, so you can find the two best shoes, right and left, to take home. And they might think you're crazy, but you're like, this is what you want to do for yourself. So anyways, I've had these for about a month now, and I've been walking in them, so they might have skewed based on my foot anatomy. I have flat feet, and they drive certain shoes to be and wear in certain ways. So, but I also have orthotics, and that tries to smooth that out. But it's very important for our feet, our joints, our ankles, our hips, our knees. They absorb way more stress than you think. For every pound, it's been said that your hips absorb 3 times your body weight, your knees about 7 times, and your ankles about 27 times. So it's really important that our shoes are good and you invest in great shoes. So let's talk about my shoes. And then we're going to talk about all the different shoes I have. But alright, here's an example. You're going to look at the design of the shoe, and it looks pretty good when you see it for the most part. You want to assess a few things here. You want to assess its ability to roll to the front, especially if you're a runner or you're walking shoe. It should go pretty easily. There shouldn't be that much resistance. But what I want you to notice, for instance, let's take a look at this one, is the more I do this, and it stays pretty stable, but the more it tracks in, and that's going to internally rotate and put more stress. For someone that has knee problems, like myself, this is going to keep torquing over time. I just did that about 10 times, and 10 steps I have to keep fighting. That means that my outer muscles have to pull this leg straight every time. So this is the environment changing my walk, my gait, or my run. So that's something I want to be aware of. So I didn't do a very good job selecting this shoe. Let's take a look at this one. So this one right here, if you just look at that, I can do this and it stays pretty straight, and that's good as well. There's going to be a little bit of lateral shifting. That's normal. If it's too much, that's when you'll also want to observe that. The next thing is to look at the back of it, and because you might be hitting your shoe like this or your feet like this, you should go back relatively easy. And so you also want to see what happens here. Now the interesting thing is this left shoe, which is probably a manufacturing problem, now starts going out this way. So every time I end up on my heel, for instance, I have to fight this motion, and I have to pull it in with my inner muscles. So that's a lot of work for my left hip. You know, it should be relatively smooth, like this one. So this one, you can see there's a little bit, but not quite as easily mobile as this side. The next thing is where the foot brake is. Every time your foot goes like this, it should brake pretty evenly. So luckily, Brooks has made a name of doing this on their shoe. So right here, it brakes pretty easily. All the 5 toes are able to come through. And so that's what you want. And so let's take a look at this one. Right here, also a good brake. This one's actually a better brake than the right because it's more at a straight line. Okay? And then a couple other things is to check the medial lateral, and that's to see how much ease there is. They ideally should be equal. So when I take this, I can do this way. So that's when my foot, if I want to make a right turn on this left foot, it goes pretty easily. And then if I want to go left on the left foot, it also goes pretty easily. So this is a good shoe for that, to go medial and lateral. Let's take a look at the right shoe. The right shoe, also decent. It's a little bit, at least what I'm feeling, a little hard. I have to take more effort to push that way. So me going to the right would, I have to use more muscle. And then if I want to go left, not bad, but this shoe actually has a little bit more stiffness than this side. So either two things: either I wore it out a little bit and I pushed more with my left leg and I've broken it in better than the right side, or there's some sort of manufacturing defect. So it'd be interesting to see if I do, you know, I get a new shoe. So, alright, so these are the current shoes I'm wearing. Alright, these I've had for about a year and some. So you can see there might be some similarities with my current shoes, because I've at least worn these down a little bit more. And so when to get rid of it, I'll show you a good example of when to get rid of it in a minute. But here are my shoes. Let's run through these tests again. So let's take a look down here. Yeah. So let's see here. So you can see there's more, you know, yeah, but this is actually pretty good here. So they stay pretty straight. Let's look at on its heel here. So this sort of has to fight that way. So that's my left leg again. And my left leg, because of my knee problems, my past surgery, might drive it this way as well. So, but that's actually a pretty good shoe. This is generally I used to use this for walking and working. And then, so let's look at the foot brake on this side. And that's pretty good. You know, we've driven that's pretty good. And then the next thing right here is the foot brake here. That's pretty good too. And then the medial lateral, and that's pretty good. So these are pretty easy on this side. Let's see this right foot. Yep. And that's pretty good. So overall, this is a much better shoe than my current shoes, and I've had these for a year. And so you can see I should be wearing these more often than those, just so I don't have to make my left leg work more. Now, these are the ones I need to get rid of. So I'm going to toss these after we're done with this segment and never use these ever again. But because they're a cool yellow, I wanted to keep them for a long time. But this is a good example, after you put many miles on them, what not to keep and what needs to go. So we're going to take a look at this now. So you can see this would make my ankles have to cave in and out, and I'm always constantly fighting that. And the more I do this, the more they're not stable. And that's the best way to kind of describe it. You know, if I go back on the heels here, you know, they're just, I just have to work for them. And then, you know, the foot brake, you know, these are okay. This material's okay there, but you can see there's just so much instability there. All right. So now we can talk about cleats. Now, for the most part, cleats, because of their design and the hard foot plate here, it's hard to assess, but you still can assess them just like you do the running shoe. And so this, for the very first time, we're going to talk about what might have caused my ACL tear. So my ACL tear, I hurt myself about 2 years ago playing football, flag football, and I made a cut to the right, and my left leg went left, okay? And I tore everything inside my knee. Now, you know, by design, they may be really good, but let's see if this contributed to my ACL tear. Right here, let's look at the right cleat. So we can do that. That stays relatively straight for the most part. You know, after a few pumps there. Okay, that stays pretty straight. And then on the heel, I'm rarely on my heels when I'm playing sports, but that's also okay. Stays pretty straight. Now we're going to look at the foot brake, and it's made stiff for a reason, but foot brake is a little uneven on the right, so I'm not as concerned for it being but I'm really concerned about the medial lateral, because in cutting sports, soccer, basketball, football, you require a lot of this. So, you know, because of the design of the foot plate, I can't turn in so much on this side, but I can turn out. There's a little bit more ease turning this cleat out. The left one here is the compass test. There's a litmus test here. And so my hypothesis is there's probably a manufacturing issue here on this left cleat. So let's take a look, and you can see that makes my leg turn. And so what I probably had to do was fight that as I was running, try to run straight, and then maybe my muscle had to pull it out a little bit. And then, I don't know, I think, you know, there's some issue here. And someone should get on Nike, sue them for manufacturing and poor quality control on these things. But take a look at that. Let's take a look at the heels. The heels seem okay, but I think I'm more concerned about, you know, this thing turning in so quickly, actually. Then the foot brake, that's okay. And then let's see. So I was trying to cut to the right, and was it gonna let me do that? No, it wasn't going to let me cut right. If I wanted to cut this way, let's see if there's an ease to that. Look at that. That made me go that way. So there's a chance that I got this knee injury, this knee ACL injury from this cleat. This is the actual cleat I wore on the day I hurt myself. So that's that. I hope you guys have learned something today, and go to the shoe store or your sports store, examine all the shoes, and find the 2 best pairs, because obviously I didn't do that and I paid for it. So, alright, I'm Dr. Justin Lin, Rehab and Revive. Come if you have any questions. If you want me to check out your shoes, come on in. I can look at it for you. And otherwise, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.